Hey, folks, welcome to InTheMoneyStocks.com's intraday analysis video, brought to you by the creators of proprietary price, pattern, and time methodology. Learn the PPT strategies and profit for life. Let's get this video started, give you all the details you need to know about the market today. We have some interesting things going on this Tuesday, July 22nd, 2014. Right now, markets are bouncing as fears about Russia, Ukraine, the Malaysian jet being down, causing more sanctions. Those have dissipated quite a bit here. Also, the Israeli-Gaza conflict with the Palestinians and everything like that. It seems like the market still doesn't really see too much influence to the U.S. economy there, nor earnings, and therefore it's getting kind of pushed off. It's not a big deal. So that means the market's back in rally mode in the short term. But I will say this, right now we're hovering just above this double top here. If I zoom out, I want to show you this double top. All right, see this double top right here? So we're hovering just above it, but notice how the markets don't have a lot of energy here. And this is, again, the cycle taking hold slow and steady. And again, I think it's important to see that you're going to see the markets chop around here. And again, even I would not be surprised to see the S&P get above 2,000. Right now, we're only about 15 points away. NASDAQ above 4,500 before we really see some major downside. I think you're going to continue to see a lot of volatility before then, with a lot of bigger down days and then a big snapback rallies. But this is where the fight is now beginning. The fight is now beginning to me right in this range. We saw it last Thursday. We've really seen it again, as I said yesterday, since the beginning of the post-July 4th holiday. And the volatility is back in play. And you can see, just if I zoom out on this chart, I mean, look at these moves to the upside and the downside. Just big, big moves, gap downs, flushes, you name it, we're seeing it. And again, interestingly enough, what you can see here, and I don't know where the markets will close, but I think that will tell us more information. But again, the markets broke above that previous high, and you're not seeing an explosive move up. You saw a push here, and then it reversed. Another push here, and it's now reversed again. And the markets are really struggling to hold on to this pivot double top. And again, a couple of things to look for into the end of the day. Number one, does the market stay above this line, or does it come back below? If it comes back below, that would be a more large negative signal on the overall markets going into tomorrow. If it stays above, you kind of look at a neutral type market as the markets again continue, but you should expect big down moves in the process here. If you look at the VIX, for instance, the VXX, or the VIX itself, the volatility index, notice how it's above the levels. Even though the markets are at highs now on the S&P, it's still above where the VIX was a couple weeks ago. And that shows you that there's an increase in volatility, and you should expect more volatility because of that as well. Okay, today especially, there's some big things going on I want to touch base on. Number one, we have to look at some of these earnings announcements because I think it speaks to a larger issue. So, for instance, Netflix today taking a beating down about $25. Beautiful move. Just came off some low levels here around the 425 level. Again, I am short Netflix right now, and again, enjoying a little bit of a move here to the downside. Now, on the other side of the coin, we see Chipotle Mexican Grill, which is having a great move up. And again, this stock, again, reported fantastic earnings. So you had not so good earnings from Netflix that didn't beat expectations. And again, if you look at what the analyst said, Netflix actually beat those numbers. But the key is the stock rallied so much to the upside into those earnings over the last month or so that they had to really blow out even more so those earnings to the upside. And they just couldn't do that. Chipotle, on the other side, actually did it. And I think Chipotle is a kind of individual case study here where, they were able to raise prices $1, but they really cater to the healthier fast food eater, and that's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. And you could really see that with McDonald's today. McDonald's reported earnings this morning, the stock getting hit today, and if you look at the daily chart, you can look at this. Look at this. I mean, McDonald's has really fallen apart, not even close to the 52-week highs anymore. And I think that speaks to, again, the larger rotation here of eaters and retail consumers moving towards the healthier option. I think there's another issue here which you can see on others. So really, aside from Chipotle, a lot of the earnings that reported this morning and yesterday after the close were down. And we're seeing a lot of selling coming in on earnings here. For instance, UTX, United Technologies. I mean, look at that fall today, down over $2. This is a big company here. All right, how about a couple other ones? TRV. All right, Travelers Insurance. Look at that drop. and that's on earnings as well. So what's going on here? I mean, you have Chipotle on one spectrum, which is kind of like a freak of nature, if you will, and then on the other hand, you have all these other companies selling off. And the answer is very simple. All right, so over the last 5 years, companies have manufactured or pulled the hood over the investors' eyes by cutting jobs, number one, since 2009, tons of job cuts, and that's boosted earnings. All right, remember, when you cut jobs and you're not paying salaries, it's obviously that money's going to go to the bottom line. In addition, you have had buybacks galore in a lot of these stocks, including IBM. IBM's been a case study of that, and Apple even to some extent. All these companies have done these buybacks, which naturally, remember, when a company buys back shares, let's say there's 10 shares in my company, and I buy back 5 of them, now there are only 5 shares existing in that company. So needless to say, if I make the same amount of money, earnings have just doubled because there's only 5 shares to divide that amount of money over. All right, and that's what companies have done as well. But the problem is those tactics are now becoming old. They've done those tactics. All right, they've cut as many jobs as they can. They've done the buybacks as much as they can. Now you have an issue where a lot of these companies, the truth is going to be seen. And the truth, honestly, is that the revenue growth is not there. Consumers are not spending. Now, why aren't consumers spending? Well, you could make a case that, the really wealthy have gotten wealthier, but the middle class has kind of shrunk, and that's been where a lot of the consumers have been spending from, and that's kind of going away. So, I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities here, but bottom line is that's an issue here. And my prediction, you're going to see some big earnings today. Apple reports earnings. Now, Apple's a mediocre one. Honestly, I have no analysis on what Apple will report today in terms of direction after it reports, because part of me thinks that it's above this blue line here, which means it could go to 100. All right, the 100 even number, which would be a 52-week high, or actually a multi-year double top, is just above $100. Or if it breaks to the downside off this little bearish pattern, maybe it collapses down to about $90. But again, honestly, I have no good read on this, so I'm not going to even pretend to give you guys a heads up on this one. But Microsoft is also reporting, and Microsoft's had a big move recently. I mean, you can see really, even if you zoom out on Microsoft, from $28 to $45 is a very impressive move. I wouldn't be surprised to see Microsoft sell off on earnings, although I am not taking a position into earnings on the short side. But these are just a couple companies. We're also seeing Juniper Networks report after the bell. That's having a nice update here. IRBT, iRobot reporting. And again, these stocks are not at all-time highs or 52-week highs, so it's more of a murky thing. The easiest call usually is when a stock is trading up like Netflix was so dramatically going into earnings. That usually is an easier short, but you have to really analyze the objective expectations and what the market's expecting to get a good view. Anyways, going to be an interesting after hours today, guys, and just want you guys to be aware of that. If we flip back to the SPY, let's just do a little bit of a check here and see what's going on here. It's right around 1:20 p.m. in the afternoon, so just early-ish, beginning to get towards mid-afternoon period on this market. One other thing I want to mention to you guys, yesterday in the video I talked about Chinese stocks. Chinese stocks continue to be outperformers. Take a look at Baidu. Baidu hit 200 and pierced it by 5 cents before selling off. That's been an amazing mover. The 203 to 205 is the master level. That's what you're really looking for. I think that's achievable by end of week before you look to short this. Other stocks out there that are Chinese related, Sina. Another great move on this. The bearish pattern on the daily has now failed, which is good. That's what I said to members that it would most likely do, and now it's heading up. I don't know if I'd chase it here. I'd look for a pullback and a bullish pattern, but bottom line is, into the Alibaba IPO in August, I think you're going to see a lot of these Chinese stocks do very, very well. If we take a look at DANG, look at this thing. Up 58 cents now, or 4.5%. And this breeds the key that you must start turning your attention, at least as an investor, that's what I'm doing. As a swing trader, I'm turning my attention to small cap Chinese plays, mid cap Chinese plays that haven't run. RENN is definitely on my radar. It's a one that's, the chart's not the greatest on the daily, but it is getting my attention. If it were to pop up above these moving averages and confirm, I actually think it could head very quickly towards the $4 level. Yoku's another one that's a kind of a mid cap here. Let's bring up Yoku. And Yoku chart does not look good. It's basically flat on the day. Kihu, QIHU, let's take a look at that one. And that stock, wow, look at that. $4.50 move. And I gave this one out yesterday. I gave out Sina yesterday as well. So really spectacular moves right now on these stocks. There are some small caps out there. I really don't want to talk too much about them because they're on the thinner side. So I'm going to leave it to you guys to do your analysis. But bottom line is, if you can find a small cap Chinese play, and there's been a lot of big runners on small cap land. Let me just show you a couple of them. KNDI, look at this move. I mean, this is just an amazing move on this one. Today, actually yesterday, I gave out CBAK, and that had a big pop, and you can see that's recently had. So a lot of the small caps are already starting to move. The key is to finding the good quality ones that haven't moved yet, that are still near the lows. And I think that's going to be where you're going to find the value for a short-term swing trade long. All right, so you're only holding it for a short period of time, but you're looking into that Alibaba IPO to get some momentum in some of these, and I think investors will ultimately find them and push them up. All right, so again, that's what we're seeing right here. Just some other stocks out there that are moving today. Goldman Sachs having a great move on Goldman. Goldman's heading towards this little double top right here. Got through this other trend line right here. It's going to be a little resistance. I do not see a shortable level on Goldman right now. It's far too strong. But again, if it gets up here, yes, at that stage, absolutely, I would look to short it. All right, guys. On that note, I'm going to say goodbye for now. Have a great afternoon, great evening. Come join us. Take the 7-day free trial here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. Join the pros. Check out our track record, over 300% net gain in 2014. More to come. Take care.